Well, everyone, welcome to a new episode of Burnin. So we had Rich Reinert in Jake's boat last year for a few episodes. Only 2 of them made it onto YouTube. But you had well,
there's a reason for that.
Exactly, you got an explanation for that.
Well, basically what happened the second night we were going to do some more episodes, I wasn't feeling so well. Long story short, I ended up with a massive heart attack and open heart surgery and 5 strokes to go with it. So
yeah, so now you're back up in Wisconsin, and we're gonna go over some of the videos that we had planned and that we did film, and then we'll get you the updated and latest version of them. So we touched on bucktails and topwater last season, so we'll link to if you guys haven't seen them, we'll link in the description below. You can check them out. Very interesting what Rich talked about then, and a little background on Rich. You're a guide up in northern Wisconsin.
17 years,
yeah. So you had plenty of experience up there, and you love musky fishing. So. Well,
yeah, it's been 50 years for me.
You've been
50 years of musky fishing.
Right, and you've been involved in the industry for 40 years. So you've seen a ton of baits over the years, and now you're going to share some of your wealth of knowledge as far as baits are concerned with our YouTube followers.
Well, after what happened last year, I might as well, because you never know what's going to happen the very next day.
That's true.
You know, one thing I was going to bring up here, you know, people don't realize what you guys go through when you're filming this. And there's a lot of work that goes into this, you know, from setting up the cameras within the boat. You got some tremendous equipment here. But even just, you know, for this to come off right, I mean, you guys really put a lot of effort into this. And, you know, I noticed that, listen, I'm not a YouTuber or nothing like that, but YouTubes are becoming more and more popular. And I got to say that, you know, I can basically there's 3 or 4, I think, YouTubes that are definitely the upper echelon, and you guys are definitely on the top, no doubt about it.
We appreciate hearing that. I mean, we're 2 regular Joes that just started filming musky fishing because we had a passion for it, and we also do like turkey hunting and try some deer hunting too, and it's been a fun ride, but it's been a lot of work.
But didn't you start this because you wanted to learn from your filming, maybe of some things, see what you were doing?
Yeah,
I mean, isn't that why you started this in the first place?
Yeah, I think a lot of times maybe people think that because you're on YouTube you're pros or whatever and like that, but we're far from that. So that's kind of how we started. Was we wanted to watch the footage back to see what actually happened in the moment.
Yeah, because it was always different.
It was, and it was like, we'd have something happen, and then we'd watch footage back, and we'd be like, wow, that was crazy. And then you can learn, because it's like, why did we lose that fish? And then you see little mistakes, and, you know, then we thought, let's just start sharing it with other people, because maybe they'll get some enjoyment or some entertainment, or learn from us what not to do. You know, but, you know, through the years, people have been like, can you share what's going on in the boat, in your mind, and hopefully, you know, it's helping you guys catch muskies. So that's...
You know what happened this year? You got married.
I did.
Hey, Rachel, Shelly, woohoo!
So Jake and I are both married now, and we're still musky fishing though. Yep. So we got
until the kids start coming. We'll see how much you fish.
We got to give a shout out to them, because they allow us to pursue our passion.
You both have great gals.
Definitely.
And they're behind you. You couldn't have picked better wives than, you know. I'm fortunate. I've got a wife that is out there. She pounds with the best of them. You know, I've been around both your wives, and you really are fortunate, especially in today's times.
Definitely. Can't say that enough.
So,
well, hey, with that, I think we'll get into some bait talk, huh?
Sure.
So we've got a few different episodes planned, but this one is going to focus on unique baits.
Yeah, some oddballs. Yeah. You know, they don't really have a place, you know, within the realm of most of the normal baits that musky fishermen throw. I mean, look, they throw topwaters and they throw bucktails, and, you know, they're throwing, you know, you guys call it dive and rise, but in my day we called them chop baits, because basically bobby suics, they chop as they're coming through the water from side to side.
Sure. And
then, of course, you got your gliders and you got your rubber,
yep.
You know. But there's some other baits out there that I think maybe either some musky fishermen are aware of it or not even aware of it at all, and not willing to even give it a try, but that's the mistake they're making.
Sure.
So I thought we'd do that, because some of these baits would actually pertain to what's going on weather-wise right now.
Yeah, that's good.
You know, just a touch on something. You know, look, you know, the musky fishermen have a tendency to, you know, they have a favorite bait, they get kind of, you know, attached, and then that's what they want to throw, and they think, well, if they're going to come along, they're going to eat it.
Yeah.
But, you know, I know people probably get tired of hearing this, but you know, baits are tools. And the key thing here with musky fishing is this. You know, you can go out and you definitely, you know, first and foremost, the weather plays an important factor in everything you do. It controls the air temperature, which controls the water temperature, which is going to control the fish, you know, location. You know, it's going to control the barometric pressure, which in turn controls the, I don't want to say the word mood, but it's going to control a fish and what it does, whether it's going to be active, neutral, or inactive. And we brought this up before, and I know some guys, whatever, I'm just going to throw whatever. That's fine. Do as you please. But when I'm on the water, I want to catch a fish. That's what I'm there for. Yeah. And so sometimes when you're in a situation, if the fish are not in the strike zone of the bait you're using, they're not coming. Mm-hmm. And I've seen it numerous times where that makes a big difference, whether you're going to catch a fish or not.
Sure.
I've actually had fish following a bait, and you can tell that it was like they were only going to go so far. That's as far as they were going to go. Yeah. When we brought that bait down within the strike zone, we started catching fish. I think the first bait I'm going to start out with, it definitely very unusual for musky fishermen, you know, to think of as a musky bait.
Yep.
And the first one here.
I'll get the other camera rolling right now so we can kind of get some close-ups of this so people can see.
So anyways, the first bait I'm going to talk about is actually musky jigs. You know, I mean, I'm waiting for you to snicker at me. Yes, guys, we do use musky jigs. And how many times in the late spring, early summer have you been out on the body of water, there's walleye fishermen, and they hook into a musky? It happens more than most people realize, and surprisingly, they hook into a lot of big fish as well. So, years ago, I started using a jig, and I've used a lot of different jigs, but I've kind of settled on one here. The 3 times of that, 3 times of the season I would use a jig is in late spring, early summer, when the fish are kind of off a bit because of the, the unstableness of normally the weather. The second time is usually in the first or second week of August. Fish have a tendency, they get kind of screwy, and you'd be amazed at how many bass fishermen that are throwing swim jigs are catching muskies on those swim jigs. And I know there's going to be some musky fishermen that are going to scoff at this, but again, it goes back to, I'm out there to catch a fish. That's what my goal is.
Right.
So, this is presently, this if you look at this head on this, Jake, it's got kind of a swimming head. It's got a really heavy duty hook in this.
Oh yeah.
It's definitely gonna hold a 35, 40 pound fish. And of any jig that I've ever seen on the market, not only is it functional, but they're a nice looking bait. Mm-hmm. How we basically fish these is, first of all, we're not using the normal musky equipment. We're using a flipping stick, 7.6 to 8 feet long.
Sure.
We're using maybe a Tranks 300 with 50 pound, 65 pound braid. Usually we're attaching, some guys like to use mono, or not mono, but fluorocarbon.
Yep.
I like 49 strand braided wire with these, 60 pound, braided wire. And all you gotta do with these is simply cast them out in locations that that muskies are. Cast them out, I'll let them settle, and I'll take and I'll crank 3 times. Pause for a split second, crank once. Pause for a split second, crank twice. And you're changing up your retrieve by just basically cranking. Another method you could do with this is when you're casting it out and bringing it in, you can actually crank and swim the jig, just steady, nice, slow, steady crank, and then at the same time sitting there just popping your rod tip as you're cranking it in.
Sure. Yeah.
And it's just twitching back.
Yeah.
You'd be amazed at how many muskies will eat a jig. And again, late spring, early summer, first couple weeks in, August, I mean, a 50-inch fish will eat these jigs with no problem whatsoever. These jigs here, and I'm going to just bring up, when I mention a bait's name, listen, I'm not getting any financial or monetary reward for doing so. I'm just being honest with you. You get in my boat, what you see is what you're going to see in my boat. So I just want that understood, because I'm at the point in my life, I'm 60 years old, and I'd rather help somebody and just, I know it probably drives some people crazy, but I love it when I see people catching fish on a consistent basis.
Definitely.
So this bait here is made by a company out of Colorado. The company's name is Cougar Baits. He's got perch, he's got walleye, he's got, you know, Cisco patterns. He's got whatever patterns you could think up, and if you got an idea, he'll time for you. There's nothing special about it, okay, other than the fact that, you know, they produce fish. So, but I want to point this out. You know, a lot of muskies are caught on jigs. It's something you might want to consider doing, and you know, contact this guy, because I think there's some of the finest jigs that I've had in my hands. So
they look nice. Yeah,
he does a really great job. So
be interested to try them out.
It's Cougar Baits, fishinglures.com.
Okay,
is where you can find it. His name's Max.
Okay,
great guy, and you know, I guess they got muskies out in Colorado, tigers, and gorgeous fish out there.
Yeah, I know we got viewers from Colorado, so
yeah. So, well, he watched those programs last year.
Awesome.
So, anyways, we'll start with that. So that's something. The other thing I'm just going to bring up that I'm noticing a trend more and more is fly fishing, guys. Now, I don't profess to know a whole lot about this, but I will tell you, I'm paying attention and I'm watching what's going on. I'm not going to really talk a lot about this because I darn sure don't know, but I do know one thing. I've got people that I know that are doing this, and they're catching fish when other people are not.
Sure.
I don't know what it is about the fly. I'm not about to even try, because I can just imagine slinging a 9-foot fly rod around and trying to handle this. The guys I know doing this, you know, it doesn't seem to be, they don't seem to put any effort into this, but they're catching some really big fish.
Yeah.
I think if the viewers want to learn more about fly fishing, there's a place in the state of Wisconsin. There's a shop down in Madison. It's called Musky Fools Fly Company.
Okay.
The owner's name is Dan Donovan. They're musky people. They not only enjoy helping people learn how to fly fish, but they can answer just about any questions you can even imagine.
Sure.
It's what they specialize in it, but it's Musky Fools Fly Company.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I wanted to bring that up, but I'm not about to try to throw that on a bait casting outfit.
Yep.
So now we're going to get into the meat and potatoes. The next bait I want to show is a Beetle Spin. You know, remember, you know, when you were kids and you went out fishing and
absolutely,
and you caught crappies on those Beetle Spin?
Absolutely.
Laugh all you want to, but this is a musky size Beetle Spin.
My grandma used to catch them up north on them. Muskies every once in a while, even on the small ones.
Well, sure. You know, this bait, at least for me, and like I said, I'm gonna talk about when these excel, you know, for me. You know, when I first saw these bait, there's a man by the name of Rick Weinberg. He lives up in Reinert, Wisconsin. And when I first looked at these baits, there wasn't enough substance here for me. But then we were just having a really slow day, and I decided, it was a post-frontal condition. We had post-frontal conditions, and actually I put this bait on right here, this exact color. It was this one right here.
Right.
It was the orange with the black diamonds with the brass blade, and we just smoked the fish. I think here we are in a post-frontal conditions when normally the fish are very inactive and they're really tough to catch because they're in that neutral to inactive state. But I don't know, you put that out. Here's a nice thing with this bait. It's real simple to use. You know, you cast it out and you slow roll it in.
Sure.
You know, and so I know you got this camera down here, and we'll see what it looks like in the water.
Yeah, we'll see what we get for underwater footage, but
yeah,
either way.
Maybe you want the bright one. Would it show up better?
Probably.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, so they make it a multitude of colors. His company, Rick's company, is called Enticer Tackle Company.
Okay.
And, you know, so,
Definitely heard of that, yeah.
Yeah, well, they're at the Wisconsin, you know, they're at the Wisconsin Muskie Expo every year.
Yep.
I think he goes to the World Championships up in Eagle River.
Sure.
I think the Wisconsin Muskie Alliance is involved with that, putting it on. They basically raise money for, you know, for student grants, scholarships.
Yep.
They give scholarships to kids. They, you know, they give money to the DNR to help them with equipment and, of course, stock fish.
Yep.
So, is that thing pounding? Mm-hmm. I mean, a simple Beetle Spin.
Yeah, for such a little blade, it throws some vibration.
Oh, it's a great bait. I mean, I've caught numerous muskies on these things. The nice thing about it, where this bait really excels for me, is, you know, again, late spring, early summer, and then post-frontal conditions. If you notice the baits we're talking about,
Yep.
we talked about the jigs, late spring, early summer.
Yeah.
You know, Beetle Spins, late spring, early summer. Both of them are excellent baits during post-frontal conditions, whereas the jig, during the fall time, that jig can be pretty dynamite as well.
Sure.
So, what do you think, Jake?
I like that. I mean, you can even kill it and
Well, yeah.
keeps moving.
And here's the thing. You guys are on the water, you know, every
Really,
weekend.
Really good.
You have X amount of time. So my question to you is, if you got a limited amount of time, if you're not moving fish, don't you want to try something that will up your odds and putting a fish in a boat?
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's hard for musky fishermen to break away from this. It's named a curly spin. If people, I think, look up the Facebook page of Enticer Tackle, you know, that's where they're going to see this. I mean, I bet you I probably own 20 of these things.
Sure.
They come in handy. You like that?
Yeah, I like this thing.
Which color do you like better? The black and orange or the orange and brass?
I guess it depends where we're at.
Good answer. Good comeback. Which one do you want me to leave with you?
Maybe the black one.
You got it.
Awesome.
I thought he was gonna say both.
Well, if you really want both, you can have both. I'm cool with that. I mean, you know, that's fine. Because I think once you guys try them and you start catching fish on them, your viewers are going to see that as well.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm going to leave both of them with you.
Yeah,
But
these little blades, I like that.
they pound. I mean, for a
Yeah.
little blade, they really pound,
Oh, yeah.
don't they? You give them a chance. I think if musky fishermen would give the jigs a chance, you know, the curly spins a chance from Enticer Tackle,
Yep.
and then another bait that most musky fishermen are not aware of, this one's going to grab them. A lot of musky fishermen, when the water temperatures are really warm, the water temperatures, you know, are hot, and they don't want to fish, they kind of commit to start fishing for bass.
Yep.
One of the baits that have kind of taken a hold in the bass market has been a spy bait. This bait here is called a counterpunch. It is a spy bait for muskies. Guys down south are already using these already and doing very well with them. Catching some very big muskies in Indiana, Kentucky, Ohio. It's made by a company called Rusty's Custom Tackle. And here's the thing, again, you know, a lot of guys are going to look at this and they're going to go, where do I find him? He's on Facebook, but this bait is a killer, you know.
Looks really nice.
Oh, here. No, that's 6.5 ounces. Here's the thing. During the summer period,
You got all sorts of
like,
them.
well, you bet. I mean, it doesn't look like much, does it? But man, the fish clobber these things. I'm telling you, they overtake them and they eat them. It's you kind of, if you can't, you know, where we're fishing right now, there's some deeper water. You can cast that out, look at, you're keeping that bait up, but go ahead, give her a whirl. That bait, when fish during the summer, you got, you know, fish are, you know, it's warmer water. You know, this year, especially in Wisconsin, the fish are basically suspended a lot. And this is where this bait shines, is fishing for suspended muskies. So it depends on how deep the thermocline is, but that's where this bait really works well. And you're not having a hard time keeping that bait up at all, are you? Now, just curious, once you got in the water, just kill it, let it sink once. Let it, look at that, look at the shimmy.
Yep.
So there's a lot of things going on with this bait. And the cool thing about this, most of his normal counter punches come with a blade in the back. Here's another variation to use. If you're fishing in a river, in the Chippewa River, and you want to get out into the channel, this, here you go. It's got a blade in the back, but it's got an addition to the rubber tail.
Yep.
Would you like to put that in the water?
Yeah, see what that one looks like.
Yeah. So, another thing I'm going to bring up about this bait is in the fall time. You know, in the fall, you know, the Cisco's spawn on certain lakes, whether, you know, up north, Presque Isle, Lake Tomahawk, you know, again, Trout Lake, any of the deeper, clear lakes that have got a population of Cisco, yep. Fish are spawning, usually up on deep, sandy gravel flats. Yep. Here, look at this. Cisco.
Sure enough.
Again, you know, and when it comes to a bait like this, I'm not really crazy with, you know, color. As you can see, we've got, you know, the perch pattern that you were originally throwing. I'll bet you can definitely see where that would work on some of the lakes that you fish up in northern Wisconsin. Yeah. You know, on those hot, you know, those warm summer days, fish are suspending out off the bars and stuff. Right. You know, with the forage, that's what fish are doing. But, you know, that would be a perfect, you know, bait. And in most cases, perch is your prevalent forage up in northern Wisconsin. Right. Yeah. You know, Cisco's on the deeper, clear lakes. Yep. This is something that he's done for me because I fish darker water. Yeah. 100%, 90, 80% of the time. Yeah, it looks really nice in the water. It almost, like, if you wouldn't know, it almost looks like a rubber bait. Like, you know, with exactly. The way it hangs and stuff. Look at you. You got to follow by a turtle. I saw that. What do you think? Pretty cool, huh? Yeah. That's a nice running bait. Yeah, I like how it runs because it's different than a rubber bait. This thing, right? It hops. Hops. Yes, and it's not when you think of a bait being 6 ounces, 6.5 ounces, you would think it would sink like a rock, but you can see this. Yep. You controlled that bait perfectly. Mm-hmm. You know, so. Again, this is a very hard bait to find. I can tell you they do work, and if you're interested, I would. If you can get on the list, believe me, I've been very fortunate because as I've gotten to know Rusty, I've been able to get my baits from him, you know, and I'm aware of it. So now what I'm doing is I'm passing it on to your viewers. Sure. It's something they're not aware of, but now they are because you're going to put this out there. Yep. And I'm glad to do it. So basically, those are some of the oddball baits. There's a lot of other oddball baits out there that, you know, but these are baits that I'm very familiar with. I mean, in 40 years of being in and around the bait, you know, the musky tackle industry, I've been very fortunate to been able to play with a lot of baits. Right. But these are baits. When I brought up, the counter punch, the curly spins from Enticer Tackle, jigs, those are definitely in my arsenal, and they definitely work. Right. We appreciate you going through that and bringing them to light as far as what's actually out there that we don't even have an idea about. You know? When have you ever seen this? I have not. That's what I'm saying. Right here, right now, from Rich Reinert.
All right, guys, that'll conclude this episode. So what are we on to next?
Well, what we'll do is we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna go into minnow baits.
Minnow baits. That's what's coming. That'll be in the next episode here.
Yep.
But yeah, we touched on some very unique baits, I think, and a little out of the box, but they look like they're going to be effective.
But it's baits that most musky fishermen would never even think of giving a chance to.
So we appreciate you sharing and the knowledge, and we'll conclude this episode here, and we'll jump to the next one, and we'll get that one out to you guys soon. So we'll film that right now, but we got to thank you guys for watching on this one. Hopefully you enjoyed it. We'll see you on the next one.